when Dr. Craig called me and said, you are going to be speaking because this topic was done somewhere when the president of AES was in Nigeria. And he said, come on, because it was not the way I wanted to do it today. You understand? Because that time we were just doing it. So I learned that this is beyond skill. So we've had a lot of technical lectures. So this is not the time to talk about mixing console, microphone, something like that. There are things that are missing that we don't know, and we need to know it. And that's the reason why I came with the topic, the auditory perception, the art of what? Listening. Now, audio engineering profession has 4 core values. No, I'm an audio educator, so please, pardon me if I'm teaching. You understand now? Has 4 core values. We have the scientific value. We have the technical value. We have the psychological value, and also have what? Artistic value. Most of us doesn't know much about the scientific value of audio engineering. That is the concept and principles of what? Audio engineering. That is the foundational principle of audio engineering. If you really wanted to practice audio, you must know the concept and principles of audio engineering. The second value is technical, which has to do with technology. This is where most of us are vast. We know about mic, mixer, processor, all those are technology, technical. And you can operate it. But when you move a fader, why are you moving that fader? When you turn a knob, why are you turning that knob? When you press a button, why are you turning that button? The how and why needs to be known. Then we have the psychological aspect, which has to do with 2 things. Ourselves. How did we come into this career? What do we need? What skill did we bring into it? The psychological, what do we really understand about audiophile? When I mean audiophile, is ourselves. It's part of what I'm going to be talking to you today. The greatest asset that we have is not the mixing console. It's not the mic. It's what? Our hearing, auditory system. So if you are going to develop any skill as an audio engineer, the first thing you are going to develop is what? Auditory perception. I'll be talking about that. The last value is artistic value. Audio engineering is the bedrock of all entertainment. Even all walks of life, we have audio. There is no entertainment without what? Without audio. So we are all over, everywhere. And that's the reason why I always wonder why some audio engineers say we are looking for jobs. Jobs to be looking for you. That is a story for another day. And let us come back to auditory perception, the art of listening. Thank you. President, let's go one by one, please. Yeah. So I can see very well. I hope everybody can see this. Yeah. Introduction. Sound is a physical phenomenon because we need to understand what we want to listen to. Sound is a physical phenomenon. Why audio is what? It's a recording of that sound using electronic equipment. So in brief, sound consists of variations traveling through the air or others like water. Then audio, on the other hand, specifically refer to electronic representation of what? Sound. I'm going to tell you 2 things now. There is this word, sound, and there is what? Audio. They are not the same thing at all. As you can see, sound exists in a space. It's a physical phenomenon. While audio has its own raw material from what? From sound. Through what? Electronic means. Now, I wish to say it because this is the sound. I have opportunity to say it every time. Apologies to this. Sound engineer. Audio engineer. Which of these 2 concepts do we engineer, please? Because, as I'm speaking now, can you increase my volume? Can you add effect to me? But if my voice is passing through technologies, the engineer, they can do anything to it. Because this device, as a transducer, has already converted the sound into what? Into electrical signal that it can work on. That is one thing we need to understand. And that is just a way from there. Now, auditory perception refers to the process of using sound to learn about the property of events happening around us. It involves recognizing vocal pitch and attending to sound created by what? By events in our environment. That is everything that happens around us. Sound. So when we say auditory perception, it's something that we hear. I'm coming to that hearing now. So sound, we use sound to learn about the properties of events that sound what? Around us. Let's go on. I said the recognition, discrimination, and interpretation of sound, including frequency, pitch, timbre, loudness, pitch, and music, together with the sound localization, temporal analysis, and perceptual organization of auditory phenomena. That is what we mean by auditory perception. Perception does not take place if you do not understand what we are hearing. As an audio engineering practitioner, you should listen very well. If you cannot interpret what you are hearing, then perception has not taken place at all. I used to tell my students, because one is taught about reference and memory. As an audio engineering practitioner, you must have a reference of every signal that you are working with. That is when you can do what? You can work with it. If you hear a sound that you cannot interpret it, then you can't work with it. Then perception has not what? Has not taken place. I was asking some set of people, I said, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? Anybody? How? In the forest, does it make a sound? Because the tree that falls in the forest have an impact. Vibration occurs. There is a propagation of that through air molecule. If there is no observer, somebody that can perceive it, it's not somebody that hears it. Because hearing is different from what? Perception. You may hear it and you may not be able to interpret it. You understand now? But if you have a reference of tree that have fallen in the forest before, you understand? Then you can do what? You can interpret it. That is what we must do to all the signals that we are working with. When I came to this country, I've been hearing some. We have a very difficult percussions, especially in Western. We call it talking drum. Not every type of that drum talks. You have omele. Even the omele, you have omele accord. The one they say omele female abi. There is accord. There is yalu. So understand now. There are everything like that. But we have a generic name for everything. We call it talking drum or or something like that. And you even have backing. Then you have the lead, which is the one that is talking. Do you get this now? So how do you now interpret it? You must have a reference of how each of these instruments sound before you do what? Before you can work with it. The art of listening. Audio practitioner in the industry needs to listen and evaluate sound. Carefully evaluating sound for one reason or another is an integral part of most positions in the audio industry. We must be able to do what? To listen, to evaluate sound. I always tell my people, you stop hearing as an audio engineer. You start what? You start listening. You stop hearing. You start what? You start, because you need to do what? You need to evaluate what you are what? What you are. In that to evaluate, you must do what? You must listen to it. Then I go again. As an audio, you must stop listening to music. Is that not strange? Don't listen to music. Listen to the mix. That is where you can gain. That is where the knowledge is. Because if you are listening to music, you just be dancing away, you can't learn anything. But when you listen to the mix, then you can identify many things there. You can evaluate it. The first assignment I always give to my students is to go and what? Is to go and listen to the mix of a particular music. Identify all the instruments in it. It has already mixed. How many instruments can you identify? What effect? What are the things? What treatment were given? That is the beginning of what? Of our professionalism. In what? Why audio professionals need to evaluate sound? We need to evaluate sound to define, one, what they hear, to understand what they hear, and to communicate with one another about what? About sound. We have our own language. It is not, give me high frequency. What is that? I won't answer you. What is high frequency? That's not, or give me high. It doesn't matter. You need to be specific. You understand? Can you increase that frequency range from 3 kilohertz to what? To so kilohertz. With what? With maybe 3 dB. That is what I wanted to hear. And when I do that, you must perceive it. You understand now? I was in the studio, someone I say, and he's talking to me, I say, I say, what? I mean, we don't have sound. If you want to go outside and put it in the sun, let it dry. So a mixer is not hair dryer or something that can dry anything. So that's I say, that is what. Then I was saying that there are important aspects of the job function of audio engineers. That is one. I told you we are talking about psychological aspects of our job. Art of listening. Then audio engineering practitioner also must have a well-developed listening skill. Because evaluating sound is one of most important things they do in their work. The sound quality is to be observed, recognized, and understood. And that is what. So understanding sound begins with perceiving the sound through active attention. One can then recognize what is happening in the sound or recognize the nature of the sound. 5 things: loudness, pitch, timbre, location, duration, provided the listener has sufficient knowledge and experience. These are the skills that we need to actually get this. I've been talking now, so I'll be faster. Don't worry. Let's go. So sound is omnidirectional. That is, our auditory system can hear sound from all directions. An ability our visual system does not have. When you move 360 degrees, your audio system can do what? Can hear sound, but your visual system can only see where you are facing. So that is one thing we need to understand very well. More importantly is that in an acoustically complex environment, we are able not only to isolate and recognize a particular sound, but also to tell in what direction the sound is coming from. That is imaging. You must know which direction the sound is coming from most of the time. And that is the essence of having all this loudspeaker here. Most of us, you understand now? The loudspeaker here, if you are setting up a live sound very well, the sound must not, there's an illusion that the sound does not come from the loudspeaker. It must come from what? From the stage. And we have to now. Oh, no, don't go, please. Back a little bit. So, to do this, in order to localize sound, you understand now? The brain processes differences in both the signal arriving time and the intensity at both here, with the concept known as what? Interaural time difference, ITD, and interaural intensity difference. Once, this is it now. Our head, we have 2 ears, which is called binaural hearing. God did not make a mistake at all to put it there. Now, if a sound occurs here, like a bang, it will reach both ears at what? At the same time. Do you get it now? But if it happens here, the ear on that way will do what? We take it first. So it will be more louder. The arriving time is faster here and more louder here than this place. That's the reason why you turn your head to the what? To the location where the sound is. Immediately. That is localization. Do you get it now? Imagine these two loudspeakers were packing one sound. And the worship team are here. You have image illusion. The performance is here. The sound is coming from there. So one of your hearing is what? Is getting it. In that sense. And you'll be able to do what? You can turn. You understand? So let's move on. Just put everything like that. Okay. So what I was explaining is that this, and you can see the localization of sound. That is why you have monitors in the studio at equilateral triangle most of the time. So the ITD and the IDD occur because the head separates the hair, and depending on which way the head turns, from which direction the sound is coming from, sound will reach one hair before it reaches what? The other. So the brain compares this difference and tell the listener the sound location. That is one thing. So the ITD and IDD are frequency dependent. And it's important to bear in mind that particulars of human hearing, relative sensitivity, we have different frequencies. If you are hearing sound from afar, what do you hear? You hear low frequency first. Is that? Because that frequency is high, the energy is high, the wavelength is long. Until you started moving closer, that is when you do what? You started hearing what? Started hearing the high frequency, mostly. And that's what. So the brain ability to process high TD and high D information makes it possible to hear sound in what? In 3D dimension, which is known as binaural hearing. That which is relating to what? To two ears. Then if that is not, what of surround sound? Can we listen to surround sound? Can we listen to music in surround sound? Is it possible? Unless in film. And the idea of that in film is very, very strong because it's followed the visual in that sense. But music is always in 3D, which we call stereo. In that. It's called stereo. Because you're only relating to two speakers. Because the one, every signal that come out of the two loudspeakers always been what? In the center. And the one that pan left and right is what will come from the what? The left and right here. That's what we call the rest. Okay, move on. Audio practitioners, so two ways to listen to audio production are critical listening and analytical listening. This is where I'm going. We talk about art of listening. Critical listening and analytical listening. I want you to get it. Critical listening and analytical are the two basic ways to listen to audio production when working on them professionally. These two methods of interpreting audio production through active perception are the foundation for how your work as audio professional or audio production work. Move on, please. You need to listen to sound as both an audio engineer and your producer. It might be in the studio, but in church, your music director is your producer. Your music director doesn't listen to sound as you listen to sound. Seriously. That's why there is a conflict most of the time. Because what you listen to is different from what they are actually listening to. You will see now. Okay. Critical listening primarily comes from the audio engineer's point of view. From the engineer's perspective, you will be listening to the physical details of the sound. That is when you are listening. Physical details. What are these? Frequency response, dynamic range, tone, stereo imaging levels, and how these signals are blended together in the mix. Your worship leader does not understand that. Like the sister that doesn't understand that. But those who understand that, we're looking at what is the frequency, the high, the mid, the low. Are they coming out the way supposed to come out? We have a lot of things. There was an article I wrote and said that when it's not so something, before we come on, if you have 32 channels of music, on each of those 32 channels, you will do what? You will do almost about 20 gain stages on 32 channels. Then I asked the pastor, how much does it take you to prepare an hour sermon? So if that's so, and you want it to, this machine you see here, you may buy it for almost about 80 million. The mixing console cannot work on itself. Somebody needs to press button. Somebody needs to move a fader. Somebody needs to move, and it's not like magic. that way. So we do a lot of job in that world. So, but the music director or the worship leader just pick a microphone and started, does not know how much work we've done for a mic or for his mic to even sound like he wants. Then they will be controlling us. I want it like this. I want it like that. Something like this. This is what we want. Something like that. We even want our backgrounds, and they even be beefing us again. Apologies to the worship. So having control of the technical aspect of sound is important because it allows you to work with these issues that are present. It's sound production and the way they integrate together most of the time. So in music production, critical listening and song analysis is an essential skill that sets apart the novice from what? From the professionals. It is not just about hearing the song and enjoy it. Critical is about analyzing the element of that and understanding how they fit together to create cohesive masterpiece. We must respect mix engineers, especially the live sound mix engineers. They don't have second chance. In the studio, you can call anybody back, come and we do. But in live sound, forget it. And that's why I always tell you, in live sound, this is where you mix before, this is where you record. You mix before you record. In the studio, you record before you mix. You listen to me now. In the studio, you have chances to do anything. That's why they have almost about 100 takes for one vocal. You understand now? In live sound, you have to mix before the show starts. You don't mix during the show unless you are not professional. You mix during sound check. During the show, you only worry with levels. Simple. And that is when you record. So if anything goes wrong, it has been coming from the sound check. Because the show is supposed to begin and finish before the audience started arriving. The most important aspect of live show is what? Is sound check. I have almost about 3 or 4 modules on creating an excellent live sound performance. But that is for another day. You understand? So I think I've gone that. Then the other type of listening is analytical listening. This is where it comes to our music producers. The other type of analytical listening is all about feelings and meanings. That is what concerns our worship leaders and the music producers. Do you understand? Feelings and meaning. Sound gives us meaning and perspective in our life. It is important to understand the emotional intention of a musical performance is reflected in the sound. Like the worship we just had now. There are levels that as we are taking the thing is coming up because the feeling is what is high. Understand now? At the same time, our audio engineer is what is minding the level. Do you get it now? I can see it's minding. It doesn't go to. And our sister is trying to help the system instead of the system helping her. It happens like that because they started shouting and screaming and everything like that. You understand now? Look at those people trying to tell audio engineer, they don't enjoy service. There are some people that always pray the service ends because they are always on their toe. That mic must not fail. Oh, that high frequency, go and check that. Is that critical working? Is that something that ask them what is the verse of the Bible? They don't know. Because they didn't come to worship. They come to work. So everything in music production must reflect the intention in order for the feelings of the song to be properly conveyed to the listener. With analytical listening, you are looking for the meaning and interpretation of what is being played. Your ability to see the presence in the approach and adapt those performances accordingly is all you need to get a great sound. Mixing engineer determine the genre of a music. Do you know that? They determine the genre of a music because music is music. Content is content. There is no gospel music anywhere. We only have gospel lyrics in the music. Gospel can be reggae. can be juju. You understand now? It can be blues, can be anything. You understand now? But it's the lyrics that makes the difference. Do you have gospel guitar? Or gospel keyboard? No. It's the same instrument they use for secular music or not. It's the same. It's the same. The pop, hip hop, and everything can be what? Can be God because of what? Because of the what? Because of the lyrics. In that. Lastly, balancing analytical and critical listening. The ability to hear compression and know how to analyze dynamic range is also critical to listening aspect of evaluation. Those are the things that we will. Okay. The ability of an audio engineer to analyze and interpret through the eyes of a producer, or what is needed in the critical definition of an audio engineer. That is what we mean by an audio engineer. This requires a lot of critical listening and analysis of great mixes. Once defined, those approaches for recording and mixing must be practiced with a critical mindset until they become second nature. Second nature, then experience is what is the key. You understand? So that I've been able to actually give you what you need. The most expensive tools that we have as an audio engineer is what? Is our hearing. And we must take care of it. Stop hearing sound from today. Start listening to sound so you can analyze it. Before you work on it, you must have a reference of what you are working with. You must have a reference of what. I was discussing something when we were in the waiting room. You see this piece of equipment here. To some people, or to the people that plays it, when they say what kind, if we said you this is a motif effects. To us, we have to look further into it. It is a keyboard to them. Because what it gives them, they play it, concert plays, they are concerned with what? With note. F sharp, G clear, something like that. I don't understand. We are concerned with what? With tones. Because that is what comes to us as a signal. So we are dealing with tones. And that is what we deal with every signals that we do. We must identify it. If you play a trumpet live with human interaction, it will be different from when a trumpet is played here. You will see it. You understand now? I was listening to an hip-hop, something else. In hip-hop, if a woman being is playing drums and is rolling, the hi-hat, the snare will stop. Because you only have two hands, Abi. When it rolls, but in some electronic music production, the hip-hop say, you can still hear the snare when the clothes is rolling. These are the things that we need to listen to. And I can identify this is electronic music production, like the one that was played with human interaction. You know, when you listen to electronic music, all this, what's it called? The electronic music, the samples and everything, it looks so boring. You have what you call hearing fatigue at times. It just stays straight. When it comes to human being playing, there must be some little errors, something that is pardonable. You understand? Then you know that this one is being played by what? By a human being. And that is what we need. So you respect people that actually deal with real human beings. You understand now? And I respect all the stage mix engineer. The stage mix engineers, they are no joke. You should respect them because they are actually dealing with a number of people on stage. And that is why they get a lot of correction, requests, everything. There's no member of the audience that will come to F1 that I did not hear the agogo. You understand? They just want to enjoy because they do what we call analytical listening. They just want to feel in some emotion, understand? But on stage, you understand? You are dealing with the number of people that was on this stage, understand? And if this work, You have one human being playing 2 keyboards. You have 2 types of signals coming into your listening. You have to deal with it. You are not dealing only with one, you are dealing with two signals. You have only about maybe 10 or percussionists during that one, and you need to deal with them individually. So that is where the mix and everything comes in. I respect them seriously. We have a lot that we need to do. So most of the time, I will take it for granted that you protect your hearing, please. Like I always tell my students that have a sound level meter with you. If you are in a place and the level of the sound is going between 90 and 95 and 100 decibel sound pressure level, excuse yourself every 1 hour. Because at the end of the day, you might be hearing ringing in your what? If it goes maybe 24 hours, you are lucky. If it doesn't go, that is permanent threshold shift. You are becoming partially deaf. Then you go and look for another job somewhere else. But now, let me just thank you very much for listening.